explodes. Camera shakes. Eye. Bloodshot. Wild. Pupil dilated with fear and rage. Horn enormous, curved like a weapon. Sunlight glints off the tip. Hand trembling. Elderly woman's fingers pulling curtain closed. Face pale. Breath. Heavy vapor pouring from unseen nostrils. Sound of deep, furious snorting. Shadow. Massive. Blocking the well completely. Shape of something huge, powerful, unmoving. Reveal. The bull. Cool Whip stood like a fortress in the center of Ashwood Ridge's only water source. 2,000 pounds of black Angus muscle. Coat matted with dirt and dried sweat. Ribs showing slightly through the hide. Eyes wild with something that looked like fury, but might have been something else. Fear. Desperation. Exhaustion. But nobody in the village saw that. They only saw danger. Ashwood Ridge clung to the side of the Appalachian Mountains like a barnacle on a rock. 32 families. One general store. One church. One blacksmith. And one well. The well had been there longer than anyone could remember. Hand-dug by the first settlers. Fed by an underground spring that never ran dry. Cold, clean water that tasted like minerals and mountain air. Every family depended on it, and for 3 days, nobody could get near it. The bull had appeared on the morning of the first day, staggering down from the high ridges covered in scratches from thorns and branches. He'd walked straight to the well, lowered his massive head, and drunk for what seemed like 10 minutes straight. Then he'd stopped, lifted his head, and refused to leave. Anyone who approached got charged. Steve Martin, the village leader, had tried first. The bull lowered his horns and came at him like a freight train. Steve barely made it back to his porch. Howard Reingold, the blacksmith, tried next with a long pole. Cool Whip snapped it like a toothpick. Barbara Fields, the oldest woman in the village, tried talking to the animal from a distance. The bull just stared at her with those wild, desperate eyes and pawed the ground. By the third day, panic had set in. People were rationing what little water they had left in barrels and jugs. Children were thirsty. Gardens were dying. The summer heat made everything worse. Carol Shaw stood in the doorway of her general store, arms crossed, watching the bull from a safe distance. "Someone needs to shoot that thing," she said. "Can't," Steve replied. He stood beside her, rifle in hand but lowered. "Belongs to Richard White up on the high ridge. That's an expensive animal. We shoot it. White'll sue us into the ground." "Then what do we do? Wait till we all die of thirst?"
They're coming back.
"We sent word to White 3 days ago. He should be here soon." "Until then?" Steve didn't answer, because he didn't have one.
I just need a little more time.
Ezra Hawkins heard about the bull on the afternoon of the third day. He lived a mile outside the village in a cabin he'd built himself. Kept to himself mostly. Grew vegetables, raised a few chickens, fixed things for people when they asked. Didn't talk much, didn't need to. Barbara Fields hiked up to his place just before sunset, sweating and breathless.
I don't know.
"Ezra,
Barb.
we need help."
I just
He
don't
looked up
know.
from the fence post he was mending. "What kind of help?" "There's a bull blocking the well. Won't let anyone near it. We're out of water." Ezra set down his hammer. "How long?" 3 days. "Bull hurt anyone?" "Not yet, but he's charged everyone who's tried to get close." Ezra looked at the sky. Sun dropping low. Temperature still brutal. "Steve try?" "Everyone tried." "What's Steve want to do?" Barbara hesitated. "He wants to wait for Richard White." "But we don't have time to wait, Ezra. People are suffering."
It's gentle handling.
Ezra
Same as
grabbed
any
his
other
hat.
creature on the ranch.
"Show me." They walked down the mountain trail together in silence. When they reached the edge of the village, Ezra stopped. He could see the well from here, and the bull. Cool Whip stood perfectly still, head low, flanks rising and falling with heavy breaths. Ezra studied him for a long time. "He's exhausted," Ezra said quietly. "He's dangerous,"
Ezra,
Barbara corrected.
Too big.
"Dangerous because he's exhausted."
Don't go near him.
Ezra took a
Have
step
to.
closer.
Just
"Look at him, Barbara. Really look." She did. And slowly she started to see it. The bull wasn't standing guard out of aggression. He was standing because he didn't know what else to do. Lost, terrified, desperate. He's been up in those mountains for days, Ezra said. No food, no water till he found this well. Now he's too scared to leave it. So what do we do? Ezra looked at the bull, at the village, at the people watching from windows and porches. Then he made a decision. I'm going to give him water. Barbara grabbed his arm. Ezra, he'll kill you. Maybe, but if I don't try, people in this village are going to suffer, and that bull's going to die of starvation right there in front of us. Steve won't allow it. Steve doesn't have to allow it. Ezra pulled his arm free gently. This is my choice. He walked toward his cabin. Barbara called after him. What are you doing? Getting a bucket. 20 minutes later, Ezra Hawkins stood at the edge of the village square with a wooden bucket full of fresh water from his own spring. Every person in Ashwood Ridge watched from behind closed doors and windows. Steve Martin stood on his porch, rifle ready. This is a bad idea, Hawkins. Noted. I'm not responsible if that bull tramples you. Didn't ask you to be. Ezra started walking, slowly, calmly. The bucket swung gently at his side. Cool Whip's head snapped up. The bull's eyes locked onto Ezra. 50 feet. The bull pawed the ground. 40 feet. A low rumble came from the bull's chest. 30 feet. Cool Whip lowered his head. Horns pointed forward. Ezra didn't stop. 20 feet. The bull charged. Cool Whip came at him like an avalanche. 2,000 pounds of muscle and fury closing the distance in seconds. Ezra didn't run. He set the bucket down on the ground, stepped back 3 paces, and stood perfectly still. The bull stopped 6 feet away, hooves skidding in the dust, head low, snorting hard, muscles coiled, ready to destroy anything that moved. They stared at each other. Ezra kept his hands visible, open, but he didn't relax. This animal could kill him in one charge. Cool Whip pawed the ground, dirt flew. The bull tossed his head violently, horns slicing air. Ezra didn't blink. One wrong move, one sudden gesture, and it was over. Slowly, Ezra took 1 step to the side, away from the bucket. The bull's eyes tracked him, wild, calculating. Ezra took another step. Cool Whip snorted, a warning, but didn't charge. Ezra backed up 10 more feet, creating clear distance between himself and the water. The bull stood there, sides heaving, nose flaring. He could smell it. Fresh water, just feet away. But instinct screamed danger, trap, threat. Ezra stopped moving. It's yours, he said quietly. Nobody's taking it. The bull didn't move. From the porches, people watched in terrified silence. 1 minute passed. 2. Cool Whip's head lowered slightly, eyes still locked on Ezra. The bull took 1 cautious step toward the bucket, stopped, waited for a reaction. Ezra stayed frozen. Another step. Cool Whip's muzzle reached the bucket, sniffed hard, ears pinned back, ready to bolt or fight. Then he drank, fast, desperate. Water sloshing everywhere, but his eyes never left Ezra. Even while drinking, the bull watched him like a predator watches prey. When the bucket was empty, Cool Whip lifted his head. Water dripped from his muzzle. The wildness was still there, but the edge had dulled. Thirst satisfied, one need met. Ezra didn't move closer. Not yet. Howard, he called without turning. Bring another bucket. And hey, Howard Reingold appeared cautiously with a second bucket, set it down 20 feet from the bull, backed away fast. Cool Whip eyed it, snorted, then walked over and drank again. Ezra watched the bull's body language, the way he moved, still tense, still ready to fight, but the desperation was easing. This wasn't a broken animal. This was a wild, powerful creature whose survival instincts had been pushed to the limit. You don't tame something like that with kindness. You earn its tolerance, one careful step at a time. By the time the sun touched the horizon, Cool Whip had drunk 6 buckets of water and eaten most of a hay bale. He stood near the well, still alert, still watching everyone who moved. But he wasn't charging anymore. Ezra sat on the ground 15 feet away, close enough to monitor, far enough to not threaten. Barbara brought him coffee but didn't
Steve,
approach the bull.
That bull is agitated.
How long you planning to
You
sit
need to
there?
back away
She
slowly
asked.
before someone gets hurt.
Long as it takes. Takes for what? For him to understand we're not a threat. He could still kill you. Yeah, he could. Ezra sipped his coffee. But he won't. Not unless I give him a reason. Steve Martin walked over, keeping distance. Richard White's on his way.
This is wearing
Should be
thin,
here
Steve.
within the hour.
My bones ache and we're no
Ezra
closer than
nodded.
when we started.
Cool Whip's ear flicked toward the sound of Steve's voice. The bull shifted his weight. Ready. Steve froze. Don't run, Ezra said calmly. Just back up slow.
Hey, bull.
Steve did. The bull watched him go, but didn't charge. Jesus, Steve muttered. That thing's a loaded gun. No, he's a scared animal in a strange place surrounded by strangers. You'd be dangerous too. An hour later, the sound of a truck engine echoed from the mountain road. Cool Whip's head snapped up, ears forward, body tense. A dusty pickup rolled into the square. Richard White climbed out, 55, worn face, expensive boots caked in mud. He looked exhausted. That him? Richard asked. That's him, Steve said. Richard walked toward the bull slowly, stopped 10 feet away. Cool Whip stared at him, didn't move.
We can't stay here, Ezra.
Cool Whip,
We need to
Richard
move
said
the trailer
firmly.
before dark. I know.
Easy.
I'm ready.
The bull's ears twitched at the sound of his name. Recognition flickered in his eyes, but he didn't approach. Richard sighed, pulled off his hat, ran a hand through his hair. I've been searching for 3 days, covered every ridge, every creek, thought a mountain lion got him. He's dehydrated, hungry, exhausted, Ezra said, but not hurt. Richard looked at Ezra.
Should help keep the cold out.
You the one who got him to calm
I
down?
appreciate it.
Gave him water, gave him space, that's all. That's more than most would do. Richard studied Cool Whip. He let you get close? Close enough, but he's still on edge. Don't push him. Richard nodded. I'll get a trailer. Be back in 2 hours. He looked at Ezra. Can you keep him here till then?
Ezra, but,
I'll try.
I think you're ready for
I'll
it.
pay you for your
I
time.
appreciate that, Bart.
Don't need
I
payment.
really do.
Richard's jaw tightened. Then I owe you, and I don't forget. He climbed back in his truck and drove off. Night fell. The village went quiet. Cool Whip lay down near the well. Not relaxed, just exhausted. His eyes stayed open, watching. Ezra stayed too, sitting against the stone wall, keeping watch. Barbara brought him a blanket. You're really going to stay out here all night? Someone has to. Why you? Ezra looked at the bull, at the massive animal who'd been lost, terrified, desperate, because I know what it's like to be alone in a place that don't want you. And I know what it means when someone stays anyway. Barbara was quiet for a moment, then nodded. I'll bring you coffee in the morning. She left. Ezra pulled the blanket around his shoulders.
Hold still, Richard.
Across the square,
Recognize
Cool Whip's
the
eyes
jacket.
glowed faintly in the
Throw 'em
moonlight.
off.
Still watching, still wary, but alive. And that was enough.
What am I gonna do now?
Ezra woke to the sound of a diesel engine grinding up the mountain road. Dawn light spilled gold across Ashwood Ridge. Cool Whip stood near the well, alert, watching the approaching vehicle. Richard White's truck pulled a livestock trailer behind it. Heavy duty, built for animals that didn't load easy. Richard parked and climbed out. 2 ranch hands followed in a second truck. Cool Whip's body went rigid, ears pinned back, head lowered. He recognized the trailer, and he didn't like it. Easy now, Richard said, approaching slowly. He carried a lead rope and a bucket of grain. Cool Whip snorted, took 3 steps backward. Richard stopped. He's spooked. He's been loose for 3 days, Ezra said, standing. Trailer means confinement. He's not ready. I can't leave him here. He's valuable stock, and dangerous if he bolts again. He won't bolt if you give him time. Richard's jaw tightened. I don't have
You
time.
gotta trust me.
I got a ranch to run and cattle to manage. I need him loaded now. One of the ranch hands stepped forward with a long pole and rope. We can force him in. No, Ezra said sharply. Excuse me? You force that bull, someone's getting hurt. Maybe him. Maybe you. The ranch hand looked at Richard. Boss? Richard studied Cool Whip. The bull was tense, ready to fight or run. What do you suggest? Richard asked Ezra. Let me try. You're not a cattleman. No, but I've been sitting with him all night. He knows me. Richard hesitated, then nodded. You got 10 minutes. Ezra walked to the well, filled a bucket with water, grabbed a handful of hay. He approached Cool Whip slowly. The bull watched him. Didn't retreat, but didn't relax either. Ezra set the bucket down 6 feet away, dropped the hay beside it, then stepped back. Cool Whip waited, eyes locked on Ezra. After a long moment, the bull stepped forward and drank, ate the hay. Ezra moved toward the trailer, opened the back gate. The ramp clanged against the ground. Cool Whip's head snapped up, water dripping from his muzzle. Ezra walked into the trailer, came back out, showing it wasn't a threat. Then he filled another bucket, carried it up the ramp, set it inside the trailer. Cool Whip stared at the dark opening. Ezra stepped out, walked past the bull without looking at him, non-threatening,
Well, that's finally over.
sat down on the ground 20 feet away,
Thank you, Ezra.
and waited. The ranch hands shifted impatiently. This is a waste of time, one muttered. Quiet, Richard said. 5 minutes passed. Cool Whip took one step toward the trailer, stopped. Another step.
Forward anyway.
His nostrils flared. He could smell the water inside. One more step. Then he walked up the ramp, slow, cautious, ears forward, ready to bolt. He reached the bucket, drank. Richard moved fast, slammed the trailer gate shut, locked it. Cool Whip spun, slammed against the side of the trailer. Metal groaned. Easy! Richard shouted. Easy! The bull thrashed once, twice, then stopped, breathing hard, trapped, but unharmed. Richard exhaled, looked at Ezra. That was, impressive. Ezra stood brushing dirt off his jeans. He trusted the water, not me. Still, you got him loaded without a fight.
I know we did, Ezra.
Richard pulled out his wallet. What do I owe you? Nothing. I'm serious. Name your price. I don't want money.
Get back now.
Richard frowned.
I mean it. You move
Then what do you
another inch
want?
and you'll regret it.
Ezra looked at the trailer, at Cool Whip's dark shape visible through the slats.
Just checking right here.
I want you to remember something. What's that? That bull didn't come down here because he's mean. He came because he was desperate. And the only reason he's in that trailer now is because someone showed him he didn't have to be afraid.
There he is.
Richard's expression hardened.
All right with the bull?
You saying I mistreat my animals? I'm saying animals don't run away from good situations. They run from bad ones. The ranch hands tensed. Richard stared at Ezra. You don't know anything about my operation. I know your bull broke through 3 fences to get away. I know he was terrified when he got here. And I know he didn't trust you enough to load easy. He's a working animal, not a pet. Didn't say he was, but working animals still deserve respect. Richard's face flushed.
Yes, it should be
You got a lot of nerve.
and the children are
Maybe,
loving the square today.
but I spent 3 days watching people panic because they didn't understand what that bull needed. And I spent all night making sure he survived.
So nice.
Ezra's voice stayed calm.
Say it happened years ago.
So, yeah, I'm asking you to remember. Next time an animal acts out, ask yourself why. Richard opened his mouth, closed it. Then he turned to his ranch hands.
Your
Let's
father
go.
would be proud.
They climbed into the trucks.
I appreciate
Richard
that.
paused at his door, looked back at Ezra. You're right, he said quietly. I've been pushing my stock too hard, trying to maximize production. Forgot they're living things. He climbed in.
Feels like it.
I'll do better. The trucks pulled away, trailer rattling behind them. Cool Whip's silhouette stood rigid in the darkness. Then, as the trailer rounded the bend and disappeared, the bull settled, and Ezra hoped Richard meant what he said. The village came alive as the sun climbed higher. People approached the well freely now, filled buckets, watered gardens. Life returned to normal. Barbara found Ezra sitting on his porch that afternoon. Whole village is talking about you, she said. They'll forget by next week. I don't think so. She sat beside him, You did something nobody else would do. You saw past the danger. Just saw a scared animal. Most people would have seen a threat and eliminated it. You saw a problem and solved it.
Morning, Ezra.
She smiled.
Here's the dark roast.
That's rare.
Smells good.
Ezra didn't respond. Barbara stood. Steve wants to thank you properly.
Fresh bread.
Town meeting tonight.
Barb, thank you.
I'll
This was
pass.
Wonderful. Come on
Figured
in.
you'd say that. She started down the steps. Stopped. Ezra? Yeah? Thank you. For reminding us that fear makes us cruel, and compassion makes us human. She walked away. Ezra sat alone watching the mountains.
That's the last of the North Fork.
Somewhere up there, Cool
We need
Whip
to
was
start
home.
hauling it out tomorrow.
And
We'll
maybe,
beat the
just
weather.
maybe, he'd be treated a little better because one man chose to offer water instead of violence. That was enough. 3 months passed. Life in Ashwood Ridge returned to its quiet rhythm. The well flowed, gardens grew. Summer faded into autumn, painting the mountains in shades of red and gold. Ezra went back to his cabin, fixed fences,
Sometimes I
tended
wonder if it's
chickens,
worth the trouble.
lived the way he always had, alone, quiet,
I know I messed
unremarkable.
up, Ezra.
Except
I see
now,
it now,
people
everything I
waved
did
when he
led
walked
us
through
here.
town.
There's no
Carol
escaping
Shaw
the
gave him
consequences.
coffee for free at the general store. Howard Reingold asked his advice on a stubborn mule. Barbara Field stopped by his cabin once a week with fresh bread, claiming she'd made too much. Small things. But they added up. One October morning, Ezra was splitting wood when he heard a truck coming up the mountain road. He set down the axe and watched. Richard White's pickup pulled into the clearing. Richard climbed out. Looked better than he had 3 months ago. Less tired. Less worn. Ezra. Richard. Got a minute? Ezra gestured to a stack of logs. Have a seat. Richard sat, pulled off his hat, turned it slowly in his hands. I've been meaning to come by, Richard said.
It's all in
Took me a while to figure out what to say. Ezra waited. You were right. About Cool Whip. About how I was running things.
This isn't just about the water
Richard looked at the
rights.
mountains.
It's about keeping the legacy
I'd been
alive.
treating my stock like machinery. Push them hard. Replace them when they break. Didn't think about what they needed. Just what I needed from them. And now?
You understand?
Now I'm doing it different. Richard's voice was steady. Hired a young guy who studied animal behavior in college. He's been teaching my hands how to work with cattle instead of against them. We've had fewer injuries, less stress, stock's healthier. Cool Whip? Richard smiled. Calmest bull on the property. Turns out when you don't corner him or force him, he's gentle as a kitten. Well, as gentle as 2,000 pounds gets. Ezra nodded. Glad to hear it. I owe you for that. For showing me what I was doing wrong. You don't owe me anything. Yeah, I do. Richard reached into his truck and pulled out a wooden crate, set it on the ground. Fresh vegetables from my wife's garden,
Beautiful,
honey
Ezra.
from our hives.
I haven't seen tomatoes
And this.
like that in years.
He handed Ezra an envelope. Ezra opened it. Inside was a check for $500. I can't take this. It's not payment, it's gratitude. Richard stood.
Suggest we do then.
You saved my
We're
bull.
already short-handed.
And you saved me from being the kind of man who'd keep making the same mistakes. Ezra looked at the check, at Richard's face, then he folded it and put it in his pocket. Thank you. No, thank you. Richard climbed back in his truck, paused before closing the door. If you ever need anything, Ezra, anything, you call me. He drove off. Ezra stood there, holding the crate of vegetables, watching the dust settle. That evening, Barbara knocked on his door. Heard Richard White came by. Word travels fast. In a village this small, always does. She smiled. What did he want? To say thank you. That all? Ezra showed her the crate. Brought food and money. Barbara's eyebrows raised. You take it? The food, yes. The money. I'm still deciding. She sat on his porch steps. You know what people are saying in town? I try not to
Morning,
listen.
Ezra.
They're saying
there,
you changed
Carol. How
Richard
are you doing
White,
today?
that he's been treating his
discussed
workers
the
better,
schoolhouse roof.
paying fair wages,
Damage is
running
worse
his
than we
ranch with
thought.
more heart.
The roof?
Ezra shrugged.
Are you sure?
He changed himself. I just gave him a reason to think about it. Same thing. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun drop behind the mountains.
believe it.
You ever
Where
think
did you
about
get
what would have
this
happened
check?
if you hadn't stepped in?
Is this actually
Barbara
happening?
asked.
Are we finally clear?
Sometimes. Steve would have shot
there.
that bull,
The full
or let him
amount
die
being
of
assessed on the
thirst.
property.
Either way,
I
Cool Whip
appreciate
wouldn't have made it.
Ezra, but I worry
Maybe.
it won't be enough.
No, maybe about it. Barbara stood. You saved a life, Ezra, and changed another. That's not nothing. She walked down the trail toward the village. Ezra sat alone as darkness fell. He thought about Cool Whip, about Richard, about the village, about how one choice, one moment of compassion, had rippled outward in ways he never expected. He pulled out the check, stared at it. $500. He could use it, fix his roof, buy better tools, or... 2 weeks later, Ezra walked into the village general store.
Thank you.
Carol looked up from behind the counter. Morning, Ezra. Morning, Carol. Got a question for you. Shoot. How much would it cost to fix the schoolhouse roof? Heard it's been leaking.
That's why you have
Carol
to be strong,
blinked.
even when it feels
Well,
difficult.
Probably around $500 for materials and labor. Why?
Try to remember.
Ezra pulled out the check, endorsed it, slid it across the counter. Use this. Carol stared at the check.
No, I don't think that's the way
At
it
Ezra.
works. Not
This
yet.
is Richard White's money.
You have to
Was.
be patient.
Now it's for the school. Ezra, you could use this for yourself. Don't need it. Kids need a roof that don't leak. Carol's eyes watered. You're a good man, Ezra Hawkins. I'm just a man who had extra and saw a need. He walked out before she could argue. Winter came. Snow blanketed Ashwood Ridge in white silence. Ezra sat on his porch on Christmas morning, drinking coffee, watching smoke rise from chimneys across the valley. A figure walked up the trail, small, bundled in a coat too big. A child, maybe 8 years old.
Great, almost time for some hot cocoa.
Mr. Hawkins? That's me. The boy held out a tin of cookies. My mama made these. Said to thank you for fixing our school roof. Ezra took the tin. Tell your mama I appreciate it. The boy nodded, started to leave. Stopped. Mr. Hawkins? My teacher told us about the bull, about how you helped him when everyone was scared. Your teacher talks too
Careful with
much.
that paint, don't spill it.
The boy smiled.
All right, lift on three.
She said you showed us that being brave isn't about not being afraid.
Starting to come together
It's about
now.
doing the right thing even when you are. Ezra looked at the kid, at his honest eyes. Your teacher's a smart woman. She also said you're a hero. Ezra shook his head. I'm not a hero, son. I'm just a farmer who gave a thirsty animal some water.
Here
But you
go.
saved him.
Freshly baked this
Maybe,
morning.
or maybe he saved me. The boy didn't understand, but he nodded anyway. Merry Christmas, Mr. Hawkins. Merry Christmas.
Strong, even when it feels difficult.
The boy ran back down the
Understand
trail.
what I mean?
Ezra opened the tin.
I'll try to
Still
remember.
warm cookies, sugar and cinnamon. He ate one slowly. Across the valley, smoke rose
think that's the
peaceful
way it
from
works.
every chimney.
Not yet.
Children played in the snow.
You have to be patient.
Families gathered. Life in Ashwood Ridge went on. Quiet, simple, good. And somewhere up on the high ridge, a bull named Cool Whip stood in a warm barn, fed and cared for by people who'd learned to see animals as more than tools.
Look at the size of
Ezra
them,
smiled.
We can't let
3
them get
months
out
ago,
again, not
a
after what
furious
happened
bull
last
had
time.
blocked the village well and nearly died of thirst. Now a schoolhouse had a new roof. A rancher had changed his ways, and a community had remembered what compassion looked like. All because one man chose to offer water instead of violence. That was legacy enough. Ezra finished his coffee, stood, and walked inside. The mountains stood silent and strong around him, and life, in all its quiet beauty, continued.